Well, welcome back, everyone, to Anxiety Simplified. I am Joanne Williams. We're here for part two of Pathway Out of Homelessness with Wayne Shipman. And I am here to also share some compelling strategies that I have used in my 30 years as a licensed mental health professional with success with my clients as life skills that you can use as well to make your life just a little easier, maybe a little happier, and with less anxiety simply. So, welcome back, Wayne. He shared his story in part one of being homeless now to being a homeowner, and he told his story in some very compelling ways that really turned him around. So today we want to share more about some of those strategies or things he learned from being homeless and what we could share with the homeless community or their families, or even the public about ways that you can help in multiple different ways. So welcome back, Wayne, and we'll kind of keep going here. Any thoughts from what we've done or where you want to go from here with our story?
Through the years, I've always been kind of engaged with the homeless. I never did get away from it. I see them out there, and there for a while right now I live in Versailles, Indiana, which is very close to Cincinnati. And, I've hung out with them. I've gone down there with a couple of buddies just to hand out some lunch sacks or some backpacks or whatever. And I've been out with the church groups and I've served the food and I've done all kinds of stuff for them. And what I've realized is I can't just do it all. And I see what we're doing today, as a much broader way of reaching the community. And, most homeless people aren't sitting around watching your podcast, Joanne. So
That's right.
I think, we're actually trying to reach the love. Yes, they will be. They will be.
Yes.
But, pretty much the audience I think we're trying to reach right now is the loved ones of the homeless. And, the people that actually want to be out there ministering to them and helping them, but we can't because of COVID. COVID's a big deal. It's changed the game.
And I agree. But another thing I'm going to just say, as just a participant of the public, when I see a homeless person, I feel a bit helpless. I feel like I don't know what to do. I give them money. I do. And I always send it with some message of love, because I don't feel like we have a system that's supportive enough, in any way, shape, or form to blame them. And I don't even care if they go get drunk. I really don't, because I feel like at this point, they're just surviving and they're just trying to get by. And I want to give them something from my heart. And I feel like that's all I know what to do. So I hope today we can really share for the public or the community sense as well. What can they do? And COVID, you're saying, has really changed the game.
Yeah, it has. I mean, when I was out there, it was like I said, that, there was resources plenty. I mean, take your pick. Which homeless mission shelter shall I sleep at tonight? Well, now they're closed. And a part of that is the agencies that actually run those shelters don't allow their own employees to be in contact with the homeless. And the volunteers that used to come out we're either told to stay at our homes or we're afraid to come out. So the homeless people are really isolated. But let me start with this. One thing I found the most helpful for the average person out there, everybody's a part of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. There's groups on those platforms right now. Like I think on Facebook, I've got like 6 or 7 just homeless groups that deal with issues of homelessness. And, I've just submitted a request to just be a member. And most of the time I'm not saying anything. I'm not doing anything, but I get on there and I read through and I listen to what's going on in the community. So I have a sense of awareness about the reality, because a lot of times if you're just sitting at home watching TV and you're watching the news on TV, you're watching very dramatized situations, which are isolated.
Mhm.
But the community at large, the homeless community at large, I've been trying to get people to understand, no matter what neighborhood they're in, no matter what city you're talking about, if just for instance, we're in America, so anyone that's an American citizen is one of us. They're a part of our community. We're all one human family. And so it doesn't really matter what city or town they're in. They belong to us. And, we should have sort of a pride in community to actually figure out ways. There's clever ways to reach them and bring supplies to them. I mean, I've seen videos of people that put together care packages and boxes
Mhm.
of supplies.
Yeah.
They show up in their car. They stay 50 feet, 100 feet away from the encampments where the homeless people are. They toot their horn, they get their attention, they set the boxes out, they point to it, and they drive away. It can be that simple. But realistically, just get familiar with the communities out there by just joining some of the groups on Facebook and things like that. There's a lot of chatter going on, and it's just being aware. That's the start. I hope that answers what you're looking for there.
I think that's the start to everything. Even if we start to talk about life skills that we each can
Yeah.
help. I think awareness and knowing exactly what's going on between your ears is the start of everything. What am I thinking towards them? Am I
Yeah.
judging? Am I blaming
Yeah.
them? Am I making them against us type
Yeah.
thinking? Because I don't think that's helpful. But I'm going to go back to my kind of original feeling that I feel like a lot of people really do not know what to do. And I don't feel
Yeah.
like I don't think they feel safe to be able to approach. And I'm not even talking COVID, but I'm just talking
Right. Right.
physical safety, because I don't understand you as the
Sure.
homeless person.
A homeless person.
You look
Mhm.
different than me, and I'm afraid of you. And I think that keeps that distance between us, that they're afraid of us, I imagine too, because I don't know what you're going to do, look at me.
Hey,
And no.
you, your standpoint there is very credible, and I encourage anyone, your safety matters more than doing some good deed for the day.
Yeah.
The reality is this: first of all, the reality is a harsh reality. It's not a utopia. And homelessness, I found out by living among them. There's a lot of people that are homeless right now, or in general, because they are on the run. They do have warrants in their hometown.
Oh.
They're walking away from a divorce that's not completely settled, and they're refusing to sign off on things. I mean, you don't have any idea who's out there, and that's a real fear. And the other homeless people, they don't know who it is that's sitting right beside them having lunch, and that's also very real. But by getting involved in some of these Facebook groups, you're in the safety of your home.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like doing your homework first. And
Yeah.
what people will find out is, like you probably found out, is just by starting to browse and just kind of get your feelers out there, you'll be attracted to what you're attracted to. So all of your questions kind of goes away because you start getting familiar with really what's out there. And then you go, oh my God, I know what I can do, and it's just a start. It's a start.
Can I ask you what your opinion, and this is going to be your opinion, we're not going to take it as gospel or anybody else's opinion, but as a clinical social worker, I see mental illness as a huge part of homelessness. And I'm wondering your opinion of mental health issues that keep people homeless. What percentage of the homeless would you say? I mean, severe. I'm not talking just
It's
minor.
huge.
You
Yeah.
think? I always thought so too.
One challenge is most agencies don't have a credible way to actually separate people into those groups accurately.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what you might call severe depression somebody else would call something else. My depression was related to different things, but I had real clinical diagnostics of mental disorders.
Mm-hmm.
There's people out there that are just frustrated and angry and confused and mad, but once you offer them a solution, it's almost like they instantly get over their mental problems with it and they're able to move on. But realistically, I've heard, now this is prior to COVID, prior to COVID, I would say 70% chronic homelessness is the category that you and I would be talking about. Chronic homelessness means nothing more than multiple episodes of homelessness lasting in longer periods of duration. That's what chronic homelessness is. So when you say homeless or the homeless, you're talking about, a quarter of, 250,000 people in the United States. But when you say chronic homelessness, that narrows it down to like, 30, 40,000. But when you're dealing with real mental issues, we're getting into kind of, those people are stuck in their homeless situation, number one, because they don't have resources to deal with their emotional and mental crisis. It has very little to do with giving them clean clothes and showing them where to fill out job applications. It's helping them to recover themselves as they need to feel like a useful person.
Yeah.
And they need to feel wanted by us. Every time we walk by them and you just give them that little smear look like, what are you doing in my neighborhood?
Or don't
look away, man. Just don't engage with them. It's so much better to walk by and say, you know what? You're a homeless person and you belong in our community and we're going to find a way to help you. We're going to find a way. I can't help you right now. I don't have any money, sir. I don't know what to do for you. I want your audience to know it is completely socially acceptable to, when you walk near a homeless person, to say to them, I don't know how to help you. I don't know what to do for you. They will tell you.
I feel helpless.
They'll be glad to tell you what you can do for them. And then you go from there, but COVID has changed everything. And I hope you and I are trying to be optimistic about this. And I pretty much want to hang with you a little more so your optimism can kind of rub on me, because it's tough for me. It's tough. Yeah. Being a semi driver, I see them out there. And usually I can't just park my truck and leave it unattended and then go talk to some homeless guy just to cheer him up, But what I want people to know is, as a nation, as a country, and COVID has eliminated boundaries between us and other countries. We're in this together now, right? We're in this together. And it's a harsh reality, but we're going to get through it. We know that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start letting the homeless people know we're here. We're not ignoring you. We're waiting for the time that we're allowed to come out. And we're waiting for the time that, because we're not ever going to go back to normal. We're going to be in a new normal when this is over with. But my optimism is we are going to get through this. And we are getting very clever in ways of dancing around the little COVID bug out there. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go find our people and we're going to start lifting them up. We're going to start encouraging them. We're going to start bringing them in. And once we figure out how to do that, it's game on. That's, we need the homeless people to know, we need the relatives and the loved ones to know there's millions of people right now looking out the windows and we're anxious. We're bouncing our legs, we're bouncing our feet, we're dancing around in the living room, so anxious to get back out there. We just need to do it smart and we need to be safe about it. But, we're not just sitting here ignoring them. We're coming. It's just going to take a while.
Well, when we talked previously, you talked a lot about how we could also give a shout out to police or security guards to ask them to kind of call off this harassment. Can you tell us more about what you mean by that?
I drop my head sometimes because this is such a difficult. I'll start with this. Part of what they're doing by policing the community is absolutely necessary. I'll give the police officers, they're doing things that most of us aren't brave enough to do, at least during COVID. Mm-hmm. They're out there doing what they have to do. But to a certain extent, they're going way overboard on this. And the city mayors and the police agencies, they're clinging to the old world ideas of this is a beautiful city and we want people to come to our city and see a beautiful city. So we want the homeless to go away. They need to go away. That ain't possible. And if you shoo them out of Cincinnati, they go to Kentucky. If you shoo them out of somewhere in Kentucky, they have to go somewhere. We run out of places for them to migrate back and forth. Stability happens when they're able to communicate. When they come together as a community, they are policing themselves. Social correction takes over. You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. People aren't going to let the wild drunkards get out there and be wild drunk because they get everybody else in trouble. So really the police need to. So I and every advocate that I know of on the face of the planet, we're trying to humble ourselves. We're holding our hat in our hands and we're just saying, please back off a little bit. Some of that harassment that they're doing is so overkill. It's just, they're sweeping through entire encampments, and people that aren't there presently when they show up, their stuff is confiscated. You've probably seen it. They come along with a city trash truck, the big compactor trash truck. And there's a crew of like 20 people in full gear with the mask, the suits, as if they're walking into a contaminated area. And everything in the area is thrown into the compactor and destroyed. So here you have these homeless people, and literally the only thing they have is a shanty tent that they made out of some, tarps they found somewhere. And they're off trying to get food. They're off trying to get a pair of shoes. They're trying to do whatever. They come back. Not only is their tent gone, but the whole dang community has been like moved and eradicated. And so what we're saying as advocates is anyone that notices, it's just like any other criminal activity. See something, say something. It's very easy to just stand nearby and let the police officer know you're witnessing what's happening here. You don't have to get involved. Just stand nearby and have a very watchful eye. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with bringing up your cell phone, start recording. And these police officers will maintain their professionalism instead of like out of the ordinary harassment. But if they're unchecked, a lot of them go unchecked, and especially in the middle of the night. And they're out there doing whatever they want. But, in Portland, Oregon, I don't want to kill this subject, but in Portland, Oregon, when I was homeless, they came out with a law called the sit-lie ordinance. Mm-hmm. They were calling it criminal trespassing with a $1,000 fine. If a homeless person was in a campus of a hospital, a public library, a public agency, or a university campus, it was a $1,000 fine and criminal trespassing just for being there. If the homeless person showed up to court, they would reduce it to minor trespassing. But what that meant was later on, if I would have got one of those charges on me later on, I probably wouldn't have got a maintenance technician job, which ended up getting me my first apartment. Right. They would have seen criminal trespassing, an unpaid fine. I probably would have had a warrant for my arrest. And it's because I'm sorry, but I was sleeping there.
It's kind of the snowball effect. Because I feel like that a lot of what's going on right now, there is no longer a moratorium on evictions. And it could be even 20 million families, I'm going to call them, not just people, that can be evicted. And I feel like once you're out, then how do you maintain a job if you can't have a place to clean up and have your clothes and then go in and present well? And then if you lose the job, how do you get the deposit for the next place? Or, it just, to me, it's like, I don't know what the percentage is, but I just feel like any American is probably a paycheck away from homeless or living in your car. And I don't know that's considered homeless, but
yes,
I mean, it doesn't take that much. And then if we add some depression on top of that, because, what's the use? It's hopeless. and I just don't have any motivation. And then we go for a job interview, your head's down, your shoulders are slumped, and you're like, oh, yeah,
Yep.
sure, and you're not going to get that
Mm,
job. Or if somebody's not
nope.
clean or they smell, who wants them in their business? So
Yep.
it's just like these snowballs can go so quickly. And then once they're there, how do you think they can get themselves out of this to get back into being productive again?
Well, to be honest with you, every tactic of emotional well-being and emotional stability and health and wellness and positive optimism and everything else that we use will work for them. It's a matter of, first of all, them having access to things like that. But usually, when you're huddled in a group of 20 people and everyone in the group is mad, hungry, upset, worried, afraid, that optimism doesn't exist. It's
And
not
it's
there. It's
and it's
not
hard, and
you.
it's hard to listen.
It is. And if I walk into that group, I have to gear myself up first before I go in. I mean, now, if I
Yeah.
go this weekend to Cincinnati, I have to I got to do my little meditation. I got to listen to some Tony Robbins. I got to get some Wayne Dyer going on. I got to listen to some things. And then I go in and I give myself a time limit, because when I come back out, I'm starting to really kind of just absorb their energy, and they don't realize they're doing it. They're just, when they're all together, grouped together, that is the community. And if the community atmosphere is dread and depression and loneliness and forgetfulness, that optimism cannot take root. It can't grow. It can't grow. So my very first elementary life lesson was, get away from it. Yes, you're homeless. Yes, these are your friends. Yes, these are your people. Get yourself, I tell them like this: if you can spend 2 to 3 days alone, get yourself somewhere where you're isolated by yourself so that you can actually come back to yourself. You're not in that pack mentality. You're not one of them, because everybody out there is an individual until they're in a big group. Then they're us. They're us. They're taking advantage of us. If they can get alone, it's just the same for you and I, right? You get alone, you start really checking in with yourself.
Yeah.
You check in with yourself and you start making decisions. No. Number one, set your boundaries for what you say no to. And when anybody in your circle imposes on you, you say no. And if they insist, you leave, you walk away. I mean, it has to be like that. If they can't do that much, probably none of my other advice is going to work from them, because the rest of my advice is the exact same advice that we would give any other rational thinking person. Mm-hmm. Start every single day with a routine. You got to figure out your own routine that works for you. And it might start with having your coffee in the morning and not looking at your phone and emails for 30 minutes. That's what I have to do. Because as soon as I see an email from somebody I start getting reacting like, I got to fix this now. I haven't even checked in with myself yet. And, a lot of our present day motivational coaches, they say, if you can get control of your morning and you can keep control of your evening before you go to sleep, you have some measure of control during the day. But when you wake up, you're out of control. You're just anxious. You wake up late for work. You ain't got time to do your little thing in the morning. You just run. That becomes your day. And so all of our success advice works for the homeless people exactly the way it works for everyone else. The biggest difference in the world is become mentally tough, not mentally just absorbing everything around them as if they're the victim. We talked about the victim in part 1. If they have this victim feeling, then they cannot be optimistic. They cannot present themselves as someone that deserves my help. You know what I mean? If I have to choose, if I only have $20 to help out with somebody and I'm walking in a public place and I go, can I help her today? Can I help him today? And they're standing over there, just nasty looking face, and they're just mad and angry. I ain't going near them. But when I see somebody, when I walk by someone and I say, how you doing today, man? And they go, man, I'm really just trying to get through this the best I can. I can deal with that. But when they start snarling at me and dropping the F-bomb and everything, I'm out, and that is going to determine how long they stay out there, is how long it takes them to just recover themselves, isolate themselves from the group, and remember their own goals for the future, and then take charge.
And,
Homeless
Wayne,
or not, it's the same advice.
that's what I was just gonna say. As
It's the
I'm doing,
same.
like we talked a little earlier, I'm gonna do this success killers. I feel like what
Yeah.
you've been talking about, that homeless, they do continual things that kill success. And some of the habits, the beautiful synopsis that you just did is really that is the pattern to get into
It's the
how to
pattern.
be successful, that morning routine, finding a way to focus on what you want, finding ways to be happy and satisfied and content for what you have right now, and appreciate everything. And that will bring you a different attitude. And that's what I hear you really talking about, finding a different attitude to present to the world. And that's
Yeah.
how you're going to be looking for that person to help. And then,
Yeah.
one of the things I've seen as I worked with a medical group that would have us go out and work with homeless that were just using the ER for medical care and not really going to their routine or appointments, or
Yeah.
using the real medical system that was meant to be. I would find people, one in particular woman, I remember, she had a cell phone, but and we could find her a place to live, because each community truly has low income housing that you would pay a third of your income or
Mm-hmm.
your disability check or whatever it is you get. So there is places to go, but she would choose to get her nails done with
Oh
Medicare,
yeah. Oh
Medicare,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
rather than spending it on her rent. So there was some
Yeah.
choices that I would see that some people would choose for their habits that would not truly get them on that road to success. But hey, we all have free will. We all have choices about that. And you talked about that last time, taking responsibility for where do I want to go
Mm-hmm.
and how do I want to go. And, it's just interesting. Sometimes I would, I think a lot of the public would feel sorry for somebody that's homeless, or some would blame
Well,
them.
we should. Yeah.
And yeah, but at the same time, then blame them for the circumstances that they're in. Like this woman, for
Yeah.
instance, I could hear some of my colleagues, well, see, she doesn't even want help. She would rather get a pedicure.
Right.
But you know what?
Yeah.
That is her choice. And I think sometimes we have to respect even people's choices for experiences. If they do choose, maybe this is the way they have to go through it to learn some big whatever lesson in
Mm.
life to get to that new place. But I just feel like taking the judgment out of that was really, really helpful for me, and saying, okay, we're here. Here's my card. Here's my number. If and when
Mm-hmm.
you're ready, we have places
Yep.
that are ready to accept you, but you've got to be willing to help us at the same time, help you.
And you have to be absolutely clear with a homeless person, like anyone else, what your boundaries are,
Yeah.
what you would
Yeah.
expect in return. Because
Mhm.
if you don't set it up from day one, they're gonna make their own choices. But if you have boundaries and you set yourself with them and you say, hey, I don't take pretenders, I don't take people that hustle me. You got a couple of choices here, because I could be helping anyone.
Yeah.
But I don't want to lose the rest of our time. I want to make this clear to the loved ones of the homeless people.
Sure.
A lot of us know what it's like to try and help a loved one that, let's just say, is an alcoholic. And no matter how much you love them and how much you try, they keep falling off the wagon. There gets to a point in your experience, even though you love them to death, you get to a point in your experience where you realize whether or not your assistance is working. Right. And loved ones And friends are the worst. It's really hard for me to just say, look, James, you've been a friend of mine for 12 years, but you ain't going to quit drinking. I can't help you no more. Okay. So we have to know where that stops. And the other thing is, I don't remember who said it, but I heard an analogy one time. And with COVID going on, I want this to be, if you never hear from me again, I want you to hear this. I heard an analogy about what hope means. Okay. And it was related something like, in the original Greek definition of the word, before it was translated all over the world, the word hope meant a strong rope secured. So if you can think of having a rope in your hand and it's secured to something really secure, you can feel safe, So when you're in the storm of life, we need to know what that rope is secured to. During COVID, me being the optimist and you being the diehard optimist, I've tried to change your mind a little bit, but you won't budge. Your optimism is glowing with you, and I love that. This rope that I'm talking about, what the loved ones need to communicate to the homeless is, we are going to get through this. We are here and we're making plans. And when we have a solution, we're coming for you. Okay. And for the rest of the world, the rest of the community, anyone that listens, and this is universal, like I was saying before, it doesn't matter. It's not just in America. Mm-hmm. Homelessness is everywhere. Mm-hmm. So the universal message is, we as a global community are working on the COVID problem. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're finding vaccines. We're using masks and sanitizing our hands. Well, the homeless need to do that too. They can't just sit out there and like hug each other and be within each other's vicinity and think, well, I don't have a mask. Well, then move yourself away from your friends. You have to keep yourself safe. The thing is, I'm challenging the homeless people, maintain your safety until we get there. We're on the way. We're coming. We don't know how long it's going to be. There's mountains between us. There's oceans between us. There's police between us. When we get there, we need to find you ready, not burned out, bummed out, laying in the gutter drunk. We need to find people that are ready to take charge when we do show up. And that goes back to making choices, making decisions. And each individual, I think, hey, it was told to me one day when I was a homeless guy by another homeless person, mind you. He said, you know what, Wayne, you have to decide if you're going to make it through this or if you're just going to survive, dude. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, look at all the people that do nothing every day except stand in line. The first thing in the morning, they get up, they leave their camp and they go stand in line so they can get breakfast. At lunch, they're standing in line 2-3 hours so they can be first in line. At dinner time, they're standing in line. He said, then there's the other guy that's hustling every day, like looking for jobs, looking for a new pair of shoes, looking for a way to get a haircut, looking for a way to be presentable. And then he shows up at the last minute to get some food, but not these people. Some of them, I call it stuck in a homeless rut. And I have been working on a book. The book's not finished yet. And to be honest with you, I get so excited when I think about my book. My book is my baby coming to life. My story has grown with me as my experience has grown. And so my ability to explain not only my homeless situation, but how hard it is to capture in words what it really felt like being out there.
Yeah, I bet.
It's like, so I didn't want to write a book that was about the doom and gloom, but part of my book is about the actual homeless experience that I witnessed and how my eyes were opened about the society we live in from the homeless point of view. And now that I'm back on the other side, I see the homeless community as if I used to be one of them, but now I see it from my point of view. Now I'm a homeowner. I've got a solid job. I'm remarried. That was something that, Joanne, I thought in 2007, I just made up my mind. I was perfectly fine with living a hermit life, because what kind of a woman would love me, right? Well, the woman I found actually is a love story come true, but she compelled me to make some of those rough edges I had to polish, And so, but learning about my mental disabilities, my, not really disabilities, but disorders, mine were intense. not everyone has the intensity of the bipolar depression and anger problems that I had. And so the next part of my book is, let's explore these mental health issues in truth, not labeling and putting everybody in categories, because bipolar depression for me doesn't explain the experience you might have had or someone else might have had. So in my book, I'm really trying to dive in, and I need more help with this. This is bigger than me. And so then the last part of my book, probably, it's going to have to be split, because right now it's like 300 pages, but there's like 3 books in a series. I think I could split it out. But the last part of the book is called Life Skills. And the subtopic is just as important as food, clothing, and shelter. And almost every podcast of yours I've listened to, and the messages I keep hearing you say, our mental health is just as important as our physical bodies, right?
Yes.
Your
It
attitude
is.
of optimism can go so much farther than just needing something because they're homeless or pathetically sad. So it's not out yet. And I'm not going to tell the title, because then there'll be 10,000 books with my title this year. But, if people keep up with me on my website, upcoming, called acrossthemiles.org, there's going to be some portals in there with other homeless people. And what I'm really fascinated with is these homeless sketch artists that are out there. They sit around for hours practicing their craft, but oh man, I'm getting some goosebumps even on my legs right now. When you look at some of these people's artistic drawings of what they're experiencing as a homeless person, they're putting into words in a sketch drawing, a story in a sketch drawing that you can't explain in words. You can just see the emotional part of what they're experiencing. And the majority of people I want some of these homeless people to send me some of their work so I can put it in my book. It's going to be pretty fascinating.
Great. Yeah.
But the majority of the artwork I see, the message that they portray is forgotten, left out, excluded.
Invisible.
So if you never hear from me again, we have to find ways to include them. We have to find ways to let them know they're not forgotten. And we must continuously drop the message on them. Even if we had to stand outside the gates and throw little paper airplanes in there because we can't get close, when they open it up, we haven't forgot you. We're working on solutions. We're coming. That's the whole thing. We're coming. We're on the way. We just don't know how long it's going to take. But when we do come, we want to find respectable, healthy people out there, not people that, those that distinguish themselves as go-getters. You notice them because they actually take the time to like wipe the mud off their shoes. They comb their hair. They find a way to shave. And those people, 100% of the time, those people are the ones that make it.
Yeah.
They make it.
Yeah.
The other ones.
There's a will. One of the other things you said that people could do was, create some, or drop off maybe a box with some notebooks or stamped envelopes and pens, that they can write to a loved one. I thought that was really beautiful, because I could imagine loved ones would really love to hear from them and really not sure where they are or what they're doing. But there's some little things that anybody could do, to be able to help. And I thought that was a nice one. Any other last thoughts that you have in other ways to help?
The biggest thing about that, I see people's just, when you can drop off, like you said, like a box full of just like them little 3 subject notebooks or something, but you put like 20 stamped envelopes in there with a little forever stamp and some ink pens. A lot of these families are separated because they can't just seem to talk it out.
Right.
And a lot of the homeless people can't come home because they just can't talk it out. But if you give them some paper, they can write it out. They can send it back to home, and the people will read their feelings without interfering on the phone. That's the biggest point of that. As soon as you get into a heated, conversation on the phone, click, hanging up the phone. But if they have a chance to tell their real heartfelt story to people that will listen, those people usually end up getting in touch and say, man, I really had no idea. I'm so sorry. Like, I judged you and I'm sorry. But another thing you can do, they get so excited when you just throw in there like random greeting cards,
Ah,
like random greeting
oh,
cards,
that's
and
nice.
they don't necessarily send them home. They give them to each other. You can throw in there, them little pocket size or the wallet size Valentine's Day cards.
Yeah.
You would be amazed if you sit around and watch them. Just they love doing things for each other. That's how they uplift each other.
Ah,
But
that's
the
nice.
biggest thing going is those mini books. If you go to a bookstore and you see they're like miniature books, and like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, that's a
They've got a
good
mini book,
book.
and the mini book is only like 20 pages long, but it is a very straightforward outline of what the actual book is about.
Oh, that's a
And
great
my
idea.
ultimate dream, to be honest with you, is, and I'm eventually going to be campaigning looking for people to help. In Portland, Oregon, for instance, there's usually 2,000 people that sleep outdoors every night. They're always different people, but 2,000 was the number. So I want to go with collaboration with other people. And I would like to take 2,000 MP3 players, like the most economical, cheap thing we can find on Amazon,
Yeah.
pre-programmed, preloaded with some of the most positive, outgoing messages from some of our teachers of today. You got Wayne Dyer, you got, Les Brown. Can you imagine dropping an MP3 player on some homeless guy about Les Brown? And Les Brown is like, you need to get up and take responsibility, and you need to get up and take charge of your life. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And the people that hear
So
it and don't like it,
changing.
they're going to hand it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I saw that as a ripple going out. And I would love to do a
Absolutely.
test community, a test community. But there's no way to track, there's no way to track the stats on, well, how many people did that really help? But that's they have ways, believe me or not, they have ways to access the internet, and they have ways to charge their phones. And, I know we're out of time, but I selected a homeless person just last week. I was on my way trying to make my way home. I'm going to talk really fast. I stopped into a laundromat, and there was a homeless lady sitting there. I thought she was doing laundry. She started talking, and I instantly just kind of, human to human, I just loved this lady. And I said, well, what's it going to take? I said, don't you have a phone? She took a brand new telephone box and opened it and showed me. Some guy was trying to get with her and make her his girlfriend. She didn't want it. He took her phone and just broke it right in front of her. It was an iPhone 12 that she had. Her family provided her with this phone. She had internet access. She had everything she needed to make plans, look for resources. Broke it. I said, you know what? I checked my account. I had only enough money. I went and got her a flip phone, cheap flip phone. And I put $45 on that flip phone because that's unlimited talk for the entire month.
Oh.
Long story is, I told her, I said, when I leave here, my conscience is going to bother me. Whatever happened to this Christina lady, whatever became of this lady. So I got her this flip phone, and I gave her some conditions. And over the next couple of days, she stayed in touch with me. And I told her, if you can provide me contact information with where you're trying to go, and I can talk to people in your family, I will give you a bus ticket and send you there. 2 days later, she was at home. She
Oh.
was 4 hours away in Georgia. And so the family, we all talked on the phone, and I told them, you have every right to be protective and safe in your family. This person
Yeah.
may be carrying the COVID.
Mm.
They set up a shed in the backyard. They have a shed.
Yeah.
They cleaned it out. It has an air conditioner in the window, and they give her access to the bathroom on the first floor, but she don't have access to the house. She don't have, but she was sleeping out in the woods by the laundromat. Now she's sleeping in a shed with an air conditioner in the back of her family's home.
Oh, that's a
So when they
wonderful
know that she's,
story,
yeah.
Wayne.
So when they know, hey, I'm, $225 later, I'm into this, but I know how to select people, and I know how to tell them straight up, I'm not taking hustlers. If you hustle me, we're done.
Yep.
If you take advantage of my kindness, because my wife even got on me about that one. She's like, $200 are into this. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But part of it was I just opened my mouth and I made a commitment to her. That's what I
Right.
want people to understand.
Right.
I've become the respectable person that I said I was. And that's my own toot to the horn, because if you would have saw me a few years ago, I promise you, you would not have stood there to talk to me very long.
And how does
So
that make you feel inside?
inside, I'm invincible. I mean, not in an arrogant way. I just mean I've learned skills. And I mean, I've got notebooks. I've got a voice recorder of my own ideas and feelings as I think about things. What I mean is, no matter what I encounter now, there's only a choice few things that I wouldn't be able to handle emotionally, but those are extreme tragedies.
Yeah.
But other than that, everyday life things that we handle, I'm handling it.
Yeah.
I'm like Clint Eastwood. I'm a gritty guy, and that's partly part of the message is, hey, you can't drizzle sugar on this thing and be so polite to everyone. The truth is, you have to be stern. You have to state your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You have to represent who you really are when the homeless people see you. And you know what it means? You're going to like this. I think you're going to like this, Joanne. I might make you wait for it. When you present yourself to someone like that, that becomes the attraction for them. They're attracted to you. They're attracted. They want your knowledge. They want your help. And then that becomes the mark of their responsibility. If they can be accountable to you and impress you, they will go to the end of the earth to impress you, if they think you are this respectable person that's going to give it back to them. It's mutual respect in the making. You know what I mean?
That's really called a relationship.
Yeah. If you just walk up and give them a sandwich, if you give them a gift card so they can go into McDonald's, you never see them again, you're just a face in the crowd. But when you connect with certain people and you pluck them out of the ground, I call it plucking grapes. On the grapevine, there's grapes up around the top of the vine that get burned by the sun. Those are the ones you want to pluck off. And, the rest of them are protected by the hive, But when somebody knows your boundaries and they know you're self-confident and they know you have human compassion, you're not just a kind person giving away things. They want that. And you become their mentor and you don't even know you're doing it.
Yeah. But it is kind of mutual respect. And that's what I'm hearing within yourself. You now have self-respect. And that it sounds like what your goal was, and you achieved it with all these steps that now you want to share. So I'm so glad that we could do this today and share this. Mm-hmm. And I do hope that this can be shared. Podcasts are free, that they can be listened to in lots of different places. You can go to a library, you can go to different places and just dial into these things on your phone through iTunes and other platforms. So there are some resources out there. You just have to reach out.
It's really incredible when you walk by, when you walk by a group of people sitting on a park bench, and one guy is holding his cell phone out and he's playing something on his cell phone and everybody's listening. Usually they're doing that, sharing what's going on in the news. When Trump was running for president, they were holding it out there saying, this is Trump, he's going to win. Well, we can do that too with podcasts like what you've got going on. It only takes one person to actually make that change in the whole group.
And that's what we're looking to do. So I really,
they're not as helpless as we think.
Well, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
I'm
excited.
Sharing all this. Well, good. Well, everyone, I also want to just leave a resource of 1-888-358-2384. And I'll make sure this is also in the show notes. And I'll repeat that. 888-358-2384, which is a resource at getting help at the Coalition for Homeless. And there's also a website, coalitionforthehomeless.org, that family members can use or homeless can use to look for resources in your area. And it's by city. So anywhere you are, you can access this and find some resources. So please, please, please reach out. But this is by
Yep.
no means ever replacement for medical treatment or therapy. If you need it, you need to reach out and take care of yourself. If you are ever feeling like you want to hurt yourself, there is always somebody standing by at 1-800-273-8255, or you can always text talk. Oops, I'm going to forget 741-741. And just remember to share the love as you go out there into the world. We really want to use that as our message. And we really want to thank you for being here today with us. And please show your support by rating, reviewing, and leaving us a message that we can also, others can see as ways to share ways to help each other. You can also go to anxietysimplified.net for the actual podcasts, the videos of the podcast. And if you're interested to find more about how to get certified for emotional support animal or a psychiatric service dog. So please take care of yourselves until the next time. Bye for now.